Strange New Worlds, Episode 6. It sounds like we're halfway through the show now. I think it's going to be 10 episodes. Great. All hits throughout the show. All of them have been hits so far. This one, I could see there being a couple issues had. I personally, it was fine. Out of every episode we saw, it's probably the one I liked the least. There was ideas that it explored I think were very Star Trek, very cool, very fun science fiction. But I just think the overall story was just okay. You wrapped this up pretty quick. I think if this felt more like a two-parter, if maybe we split it up into two parts and it could have a little more weight to it. But we rushed through some things pretty quickly, and it does go to some interesting endings that I hope they come back to, because it's not a great ending, which is fine. They can't all be hits. I get that. I can live with that. So, this is a Pike episode. We had a couple days where Pike wasn't in control, but this is his episode. Again, he's thinking about his future. We're opening up the idea that his future means something. What does he want it to become? What is he going to do there? Before we dive into him any further, we have to take another moment just to appreciate the hair and makeup department who works for Anson Mount. What is happening with that man's hair? I don't know if it's real or not. If it's real, I would give everything I own to have that hair, because it's the best hair I've seen on anybody ever. If it's a piece, it's one of the best pieces I've ever seen. Like, I cannot believe it. And the other thing I really dislike about this, there is a scene where Pike is shirtless, and you see Anson Mount. He's in good shape, but he's got a body of a man his age. He doesn't look grossly muscular. He looks like a strong guy for somebody of his age. And I think that's really cool. It was really nice to see that, because that's believable to me. I liked that. So our crew is outside this place called Majalis. It's this planet, and we're seeing the ship's trying to take away, but somebody's trying to pull it down. And suddenly we have to go save them. We accidentally blow up the ship that's trying to help out, which is weird. There's like a lot of just like accidental blowing up of ships for the people that are actually in the right. And that doesn't really weigh as heavily on the minds of the crew as it should, which I think is a very interesting thing they didn't do, because it feels like something you should have tried to just spend a little more time explaining. But I get it. We can move past it. We meet this person who is on the ship. We save them. We beam them aboard. Her name is Alora. And wouldn't you know it, Pike has some history with this woman. Of course you do. You can't have a show, you can't have a Star Trek show without your captain being infatuated with a woman he probably shouldn't be. That's ingrained in Star Trek. I like to see that Pike's carrying on the legacy, although it's not the legacy of Kirk, it's just the legacy of Star Trek, because of course Pike became before Kirk. Whatever, you get it. It's fun. And basically there's this child that is with her and the child's father. This is the first servant. He's Jesus. Basically he's going to save the planet. And it's interesting. We kind of also learn that this kid has some very advanced intelligence to him. There's some, like, what they say, like biosensors or something in his brain that allows him to understand things fully. And because of this, it plays a crucial role into Mbenga's story, trying to figure out a cure for his daughter. He feels like looking at this kid and what this kid could accomplish, the way his brain works, where it heals itself on a neurological level, right down to the neurons in his brain, like everything heals from within there and works outwards. He thinks that maybe that could be a way to cure his daughter of her leukemia. And then you see that kind of explored throughout the episode, where the first servant's like, I feel sorry about your daughter. I just wanted her to be happy. Like, I think if I had the ability to help, I could. But no one's going to let me. And I'm like, okay. Another thing I do like about this, and I think it goes to some weird places, I really like that the first servant, this child, is open to the idea of his destiny. I feel like if this was just the kid doesn't want to ascend, whatever ascending means at this point, he would be like harder to watch on screen. Just be like, oh, he's so miserable. The fact that we're going here sucks. But he's open to the idea, which I like. The kid's like the actor playing the first servant. It's a good actor. That kid's talented. I've seen him somewhere before. Can't name it. Was he on Young Sheldon or the Goldbergs or something? Maybe. Who's to say? The kid looks familiar. But he's great. When he's hanging out with Mbenga's kid, I'm like, that's fun. I like that. Just some camaraderie between the kids. And where the episode ends, where Mbenga might get some little bit of answers to figure out how to help his daughter. I think that's a really nice moment, and it just gives him something to do. We haven't focused an episode on him yet, but his story is becoming more and more prominent. I got a sneaking suspicion that he's going to find a cure, and he's going to leave Starfleet, and that's how Bones is going to come in. I don't know, though. I really don't know, but that's just what I think could happen. We'll wait and see, won't we? Yeah, we will. But that's a fun story. Another part of this, of course, it's just Pike making flirty eyes with this girl he used to like. So he goes back to their planet because they find like the identity of the person who was trying to kidnap the first servant. It's one of the guards. He was working for this unknown agency at this point. So they go down to the planet Majalis. They have to fight him. A little bit of action here. More action than we've seen in the past couple ones. Action that's not hijinks. There was some action in the past episode, but that was more hijinks. Actual fighting, a really weird just like jump dive from Pike where he tackles this guard. It was weirdly cut, but I also think like, yeah, that's Star Trek, cutting away at the moment things would look bad. I think that's amazing. I respect that. Like, it was just so silly and dumb, but kind of funny. So they figure out there's this colony. I guess it's actually her who figures out this colony, because she's doing like this thing with Leon where she's trying to decide to be a security officer. Obviously, she's doing all these different roles to see where she wants to be aboard on the Enterprise before getting the position we're going to see her in her actual story in Star Trek. So I get that. So she's doing security stuff with Leon, and she's learning all these lessons, and she has to decode a couple of communicators from the ship that they accidentally destroyed. And it's like, hey, they're from this place called Prospect 7, and Prospect 7's an offshoot of Majalis, and these people don't conform to the ideas of what Majalis is, because they're like, the Ascension's weird, we need to do this thing with this kid to keep our planet alive, we're all about science, safety, and sacrifice, or science, sacrifice, survival, something like that. It's weird. And these people are like, we don't really want to be a part of that, so we're just going to go over here, make our own planet, and not let you kill children, because yes, that's what's happening here. Majalis and Alora is one of the main components of this. They are essentially killing this kid, and we see like kind of at the end when there's like the huge scare happening, and they're like, oh, everyone thinks the kid's been kidnapped, but actually his dad was like, I learned what's going on, I don't want my son to become this. So he fakes a kidnapping and stores him on the Enterprise, but the kid still gets ascended, and it is one of the most tragic things I have ever seen in a... It's just like, why would you show us this and then not have it resolved? Like, that's the part of me that's just like, you really wrapped that ending up loosely, didn't you? So the first servant, this kid, he's happy to serve his people. He's ecstatic to serve his people. He's going to come down, do the job, wave, everyone's going to love him, goes into the chamber, they pull out the dead body of the previous kid, he's like, I am willing to do this, oh my god, and he looks down and he sees the body, he's like, fuck, I'm done. This ain't working anymore, I want to go. And Pike's trying to get to him and stop him, but Pike can't do it. And the kid ascends. The things go in his head, and they plant in there, and the kid is ascended, and I guess that means the lava's not going to rise from the surface of the planet. Ooh, boy. Now, the thing about this is, Pike says to Alara, like, I'm going to dedicate my time and my safety and everything about my identity now to finding a way to get that kid out of there and stopping this from happening again. And we see that the kid's dad's going to go back to Prospect 7 and be like, I'm making sure this doesn't happen again. I think it's very weird and very tragic that we actually saw the kid get ascended. It really just like drives it home, but then it just kind of ends there. That's where the story ends. We don't really get the ramifications of that. We don't really get to spend time with people thinking about that. We just see, oh shit, this kid's been ascended. The story's over. Pike was given a decision. Could he stay here and be with Alora? Could he like put it all aside, remember his future, and still be with this woman? They obviously have chemistry. They're also age appropriate, which I give a thumbs up to. Could he put it aside and be happy? Turns out he can't, because the woman, instead of actually him being like, I need the Enterprise more than I need you, which was what Kirk would do, the woman turns out to be a bad person. So he just has to deal with the fact that he slept with a terrible person. And yes, that's right, folks. They sleep together. There's no nudity, but you are heavily implied that they had a good time. And the most amazing part out of all of that is Pike's hair is still perfect. Oh boy. I would love to, again, I can't get over it. Why does his hair look so good? It's amazing. It's amazing. But this episode was really fun. And aside from just like the wrapped up ending, there were some great ideas about science in here and about fatherhood in here, which is a big part of the story, about love and sacrifice. If you like all that, it's right there in the forefront, and it's very cool to see. The way Majalis actually looks, like the actual visual effects for the planet, are spectacular. I think it looks better than modern cinema. I am blown away by how good this show can make those things look. It is amazing. There's just this really good shot of just a T-shaped patch of grass that's just going over top of a floating building. And I'm just like, why do I like this so much? It's working so well. I really like that stupid patch of grass. It looked great. But then it just has such a rushed ending with really the consequences right there for you to explore, and you don't explore them. You just kind of leave them to be wrapped up. I guess that's okay. But if maybe the first chapter of this, or the first part I should say, we think the kid's been kidnapped, we come back next week and see that the kid's not kidnapped. Maybe that would be something a little more fun. We could flesh this out a little bit more, as opposed to a rushed romantic story for Pike. But it is still pretty interesting. It still looks great, and I did enjoy myself watching it. It did mess me up seeing that kid get ascended. I don't think I should be surprised considering what else we're seeing on TV, like The Boys, where things get really messed up. But I'm just like, wow, this feels like an anti-message you'd be saying in a regular Star Trek show where you'd give more hope at the end. This feels very bleak, and I think that kind of sucks. But Pike said he's going to solve the problem, so we can live with that. Or we can't. Either way, it happened. We're dealing with it. And that is going to do it for this review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Now, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.